Hello everyone, I'm Rochelle Chernowski, and this is Shell Point Today for Tuesday, August 26th. On today's show, we'll find out how much a cute little dog can help kids learn how to read. We'll also learn about sleep apnea from nurse practitioner Dr. Carol Clark and several guest experts. But first, a few items of note for today. The Crystal Room is closed today and tomorrow, so for your dining plans, you might keep in mind the Island Cafe, the Palm Grill, or the Cafe Promenade, which reopened for the season yesterday. Another closure to be aware of is the Shell Point Library, which will be closed every afternoon this week to allow the staff to be trained on a new system in order to serve you better. The library will be open every morning. Speaking of the library, there will be a library book talk at 2 o'clock in the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands. Floyd Jameson of Parkwood will review My Father the Spy by John Richardson. See page 23 of the August issue of Shell Point Life magazine for more details about this talk. Do you ever think to yourself that you have way too many books, DVDs, purses, jewelry, and other treasures that you just don't know what to do with? Well, now you have a chance to exchange any of those items for something different. Today is the day for Buried Treasure Bingo. Each person will be required to bring at least one item to donate to the prize chest in order to play the wonderful game of bingo. Everyone will have a fair chance to win, so bring along a treasure to trade and come to the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands at 10 a.m. Now it's time to find out how much a cute little dog can help kids learn how to read. One such dog is Koko, a long-haired Chihuahua owned by Patrice van Groesbeck of Lucina, herself a former teacher and speech pathologist. We followed Patrice and Koko on a visit to the second graders of Tanglewood Elementary School.
I was a third grade teacher for a long time, 13 years, and then I was a speech language pathologist. And after I retired, I found out about the Reading to the Dog program. So I did some research online and found out about it and wanted to get into that. This is Koko, and she's a long-haired toy Chihuahua. She turned 5 in December. She's 3.5 pounds. And she has her certification now with Therapy Dogs Incorporated, and that's why we do what we do.
I'm April Tennyson, and I teach at Tanglewood Elementary. I love second grade because they're not babies anymore. They have a sense of humor. They can think outside the box a little bit. They're starting to expand on all the skills they learned in first grade. All the reading, the writing, math, and they're getting the aha moments. They're starting to read chapter books, and they're starting to understand more what they read. It's not about sounding out the words, it's about understanding. There are some that read really well, and there's some that are just now starting to catch on, go, oh yeah, I get it. The dog is like a buffer. If a child is embarrassed of their reading, or they're very shy, or they're not sure if they're reading, the dog doesn't criticize. The dog doesn't judge, the dog just sits and listens. Just another way for them to practice reading, and they get more comfortable. I've also seen kids who are really shy in general, who come out of their shells because of the dogs.
It does lower their blood pressure for reading, improving that. It makes it fun for them. Their absenteeism rate is lowered. They come to school, they become much more social. Some of them that came up in the beginning, were very shy. And now, certainly they're not as shy. And some of the reading has really improved for some of the kids. And as a matter of fact, April and I have talked about that. And there's this one particular girl who has really, she's just taken off.
There was one little girl, she was definitely afraid of dogs, very super shy at all. And ended up laying on the dog, reading out loud. She didn't care who heard her. And it was because of the dog. That was the only difference. So he helped build her confidence. And that's what it's all about.
When I came to school, I gave a little, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes introducing Koko. And I got them to understand, just think, everything is bigger than you are. Think of it that way, because everything is bigger than she is. And I said she has 4 rules. You have to sit quietly, move slowly, talk softly, and touch gently. And then you'll be your friend. So they've been very good about that.
Terrie is amazing. She really is. She's been a teacher, so she knows what to do. She's very patient. It's good to also have someone who comes in once a week because they can really see the difference in the children. And I love the way Miss V does it because at the end, Koko gets to sit on their lap, and it's a reward, and they get to feed her a little treat. And Terrie is just patient, kind. She has it all, and so does Koko.
And when she falls asleep, sometimes I just tell them, oh, you know, she's closing her eyes because she can hear your story better, and she's so interested in your story, and she can concentrate better. And of course they believe it, so, you know. Dogs are the magic of the program because they don't criticize, they don't, you know, look down on them. I really, really enjoy the kids and the children, and so that's why I wanted to get back into the classroom, and that's why, you know, I did this, and it worked out well with Koko. Her purse, her bed. Well, she grew up in that. She was, you know, she started in that when she was just a couple of months old. So to her, it's a security blanket. When I'm on the road in the summertime, you have to eat. If you're on the road, you have to eat. So, and obviously, you know, you shouldn't take her into restaurants, but I do. But nobody knows she's there, and we go in and we go out, and nobody has any idea that she was even there. Quiet, and she's very good, aren't you?
Whether or not you have a cute little dog with you, it's hard to concentrate on reading if you keep falling asleep. Sleep apnea is a condition affecting many, many people. It can ruin a night's sleep and leave you tired and dragging all day long. You might have it and not even know it. If so, it's possible that if treated, you could feel much better than you do now. Our nurse practitioner, Dr. Carol Clark, is here with some experts to help you know how to deal with sleep apnea.
Hello, I'm Dan Philgreen, and we have a special announcement here for you today, a little talk we're going to have about sleep apnea. And we have today with us our own nurse practitioner, Dr. Carol Clark, and we have a special guest, respiratory therapist Terrie Bostic of Fort Myers Oxygen with us today. And we have our medical coder and biller, Ella Faith, from our ShellPoint staff here. And so the subject is sleep apnea, and this is something that affects a really large number of people, an extraordinary percentage of our population. And in fact, so much so that I know there's a lot of people that are affected by this to one degree or another who don't even know that they have it, and don't know that their life could really be significantly improved with a little help from the technology that's available today. So we just want to learn a little bit about sleep apnea. Dr. Clark thought this is something our community should know more about because there are so many wonderful things available today. So, Dr. Carol, tell us, what is sleep apnea?
Well, according to the literature, it's a 10-second pause in breathing during the sleep hours, and that can occur at various intervals and various numbers of pauses throughout the night. So it manifests itself then in symptoms that people wake up with headaches, or they wake up feeling tired like they've never been to sleep. They may develop high blood pressure, weight gain, daytime sluggishness, and a really dangerous symptom is falling asleep while driving or snoozing in the car. Mm-hmm. Those are signs that there's something probably wrong with the sleep pattern at night. And across our country, we have about 18 million people who have sleep apnea, which represents 2 to 3% of the population. But I was doing a little research, and on our campus, we have about 1,200 people who have documented in their medical records some form of sleep distress or insomnia. So the issue of sleep on the Shell Point campus is a pretty significant problem that we're treating with medications that sometimes then cause falls. So our interest in handling this problem is that we want to keep our older people lively and healthy and upright.
So how does a person know they have it? I mean, this is something that manifests while you're sleeping. You may not have any idea that's affecting you. How do you know?
Right. Folks that sleep in the room or nearby someone else, in terms of a spouse or someone, a friend, who is able to, I hear you stopped breathing. There was an interruption in your snoring. You actually stopped breathing, and they might report that it's a concern to them. But more often, a person themselves will report, when I wake up in the morning, I just still feel tired, or I wake up with a really dry mouth, or I wake myself up and then I can't go back to sleep.
What can be done about this? I mean, it sounds like a terrible thing, but I know there's lots of hope. There's lots of good stuff that can be done. What can we do?
Yes, we are in the process now of making it possible for you to report these symptoms to your provider, either the physician or the nurse practitioner that you might see, and they can then order a test. And the test now has changed. It used to be quite involved, but now we have what's called an in-home test that just involves an overnight sleeping with a little apparatus. And
so now it used to be you had to get an appointment, go to the lab, they put all these probes all over you, and you had to sleep in a room with 10 people in there looking at you, which is a little weird. And now you're saying it's all on a little device like this. There's a whole sleep lab, right, and a little thing. So that's pretty amazing. That's a big advance. So some of us who maybe have had some experience thought we knew all about it. It's a whole new day now in terms of the testing, the diagnosis, and then the treatment, because the machines then that you end up having also are now adjustable, have all kinds of new technology in them. So that's a great thing. So how does this all get paid for? Ella, maybe you can address this. How does that work?
Well, Medicare has decided that they're going to pay for the home sleep test. If you have traditional Medicare, then Medicare, of course, pays the 80%, and then your supplement will pick up the remaining 20%. And if you have a replacement plan, then they will pick up 100% of it minus your copay for an office visit.
Okay, so once you're diagnosed, you get a machine, and there's some expendable supplies. The masks and hoses and things have a limited life. Where do all these things come from? Where does a resident get the equipment and the supplies?
Well, Medicare decided that they have DME companies that they contract with. They supply on monthly and quarterly basis those supplies. They give you a machine that Medicare pays for, and every 3 months you get a new mask. Every month you should get your pillows for the mask, which go into the nostrils, or cushions that are for the mouthpiece if you have a mask that covers your mouth. Also filters and tubing once every 3 months. And Medicare does pay for that the same way, 80-20 if you have traditional Medicare and a supplement. And if you have an Advantage plan, then that gets paid for at 100%.
Very good. Okay, well, we have Terrie here, who's a respiratory therapist. Terrie, let's say someone gets diagnosed. Walk us through exactly what happens. What can a resident expect through the process of getting diagnosed and getting set up to the point where it becomes part of their lifestyle of sleep? How does it all work?
Well, after they have their home sleep test done, then most usually they'll go to the physicians or to the clinic, and then they decide then that they'll contact me. I will set them up on an auto titrating machine, which is a CPAP machine, and then it gives us a report that 95% of the time the patient was at
such and such a pressure, and it'll give a high pressure and a low pressure. And it depends on how they do. You know, we might have to change the mask out a couple of times just so we make sure they're comfortable. So we figure out which mask, you know, that the patients can tolerate, and then we have them wear that auto-titrating CPAP machine for 2 weeks to a month to see which we can get the best reading, and then the report goes back to the clinic, and then they decide what pressure it will be on.
So the whole idea here is these machines help keep the airway open.
Correct.
Keep you from stopping breathing because it's a constriction of the airway that causes this whole
And there's
thing.
all different reasons people have obstructive sleep apnea. And it's not oxygen. So many people think that it's oxygen, but it's not. It's just fresh air pulling in and opening your airway up.
So Ella, there's some folks that maybe have gone through a sleep study before. They might have had a machine for a while. They stopped using it for some reason. Maybe the mask didn't fit right, or they just were uncomfortable. What would you suggest for somebody like that who might think, you know, I really need to take another look at this?
I think the first step is to make an appointment with Terrie in the medical center. She's going to be available on Thursdays, and to kind of be re-educated with the equipment and maybe change a mask if that didn't work for the patient. And it's also important to note that a lot of the machines are outdated by now, and Medicare will pay for another one every 5 years if that is of concern, that it's an older machine, it's outdated, it just doesn't work right anymore, or if they just need new supplies, a newer type of mask.
And I could do the pressure check if they bring their old machines in. I can check their pressures to make sure that they are still functioning at the right pressure.
And it's also important to note that just because you might try this mask, it doesn't mean you're locked into this mask, or you're being charged for this mask.
The manufacturers will replace them. They give you 30 days to try a mask, and they will replace it to any company. So it's not any money out of our pockets. You know, it's just that the manufacturers do that for people. So you're not stuck with, like Ella said, with one mask. Once you decide, you have to try it.
So if it takes 5, 6 different masks until the patient is comfortable with the mask, then so be it.
Well, I think we've kind of covered the basics here. You're going to have these resources available here at Shell Point now very easily. You can make an appointment with Dr. Clark or anyone at the medical clinic, and you can get these things dealt with really quite much more simply now with this new technology that's available. So I just want to thank Dr. Clark, Ella, and Terrie for being here. Sleep apnea. You don't have to put up with it. You can get help. And that's what we'd like to have you do here. So thank you for joining us. Have a great day at Shell Point.
Now it's time to cover all of today's happenings, menus, and Village Church connections.
Hi, I'm Jill Aldrink, and I'm here with Mary Franklin to tell you what's happening today. We start the day at 7:15 with Bend, Breathe, and Balance, which is a Health Connections, and they'll be meeting in the Health Club on the island. At 8 o'clock, you can play pickleball at the pickleball court, or join round robin doubles tennis at the tennis courts in the Woodlands. At 8:15, the Stamp Ministry meets downstairs in the Stamp Room. At 8:30, Ladies Golf Association will be meeting at the Shell Point Golf Club. At 9:15, we have open painting in the Art Studio or shuffleboard at the shuffleboard courts on the island. At 9:30, match play mixed doubles tennis will be meeting at the tennis courts. And at 10 o'clock, we have a special buried treasure bingo. Come on out, they'll be meeting at the Grand Cypress Room. At 10:15, Through the Bible study group will be meeting in the Osprey Room. And after that, at 11 o'clock, the Susie Q will head out for lunch at Rum Runners. At 11:45, we finish the morning with Health Connections Living Healthy discussion group. They'll be meeting in the Osprey Room on the island. Mary, what do we have for this afternoon?
Well, you can be a hero this afternoon. You can donate blood at the Bloodmobile, which will be located right outside the church from 12:30 to 6 today. If you enjoy the game of Mixed Progressive Bridge, you'll want to be in the game room at the Woodlands at 12:30. And your 1:15 Tuesday afternoon choices are Knitters Group in the Osprey Room, the Rollicking Recorderist in the Tarpon Room, and the Women's Ministry Prayer Group, meeting in 408 Royal Bonnet. 1:30 is the time for Aqua Pilates Stretch at the Life Quest Aquatic Center. And also gathering will be the Stamp Ministry in the Sable Room at the Woodlands. 2 o'clock, Library Book Talk takes place for their monthly event in the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands. 2:45, Balance and Mobility Training Level 2 will be meeting in the Health Club on the island. That wraps up our Tuesday activities. We hope you tune in tomorrow to find out what's going on then.
Menus for Tuesday. Today, the Crystal Room is closed. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Tuesday, the special is an Alpine chicken sandwich with fries for $7.25. The dinner special is New Orleans catfish with fried potatoes and 3-bean salad for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill are fried oysters for $16.95 or baked cod, also for $16.95. Menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm David Pavey, Assistant Pastor. During the Second World War, I lived in a thatched cottage in the pastoral countryside of Wiltshire in the southwest of England. Far from the bombs that were falling on the cities, my world was composed of verdant fields and hedgerows, farm animals, and crops of hay and corn. Every now and then, however, there was a reminder that the country was at war. Our tranquil life would be disturbed by convoys of military vehicles which would pass our garden gate on their way to or from nearby Salisbury Plain, home to the largest military training area in the United Kingdom. A cartoon from those days is lodged in my mind. Local recruits from the army are on parade, marching through their hometown behind the military band, ready to go off to war. Concerned parents are looking on with pride. Suddenly, a doting mother exclaims to her friend, "Oh, look, Florence, they're all out of step except our George." In the book of Galatians chapter 5, verse 13, the Apostle Paul writes, "Let us keep in step with the Spirit." Sadly enough, too many of us Christians, like our George, think we're doing fine, but we're out of step with the Spirit. Keeping in step with the Holy Spirit means that our behavior derives not from the mechanical observance of a legal code, but from our relationship with God. My wife cooks my supper, for example, not because I order her to, but because she loves me. The result may be the same. I get my supper. But how different the motivation. I know a man who as a teenager found an enormous challenge to keep his bedroom tidy. His mother would shake her head and murmur prophetically, "Son, I don't know whom you're going to marry, but I'll tell her I tried." Some years later, when the bride had been chosen and the wedding ceremony was history, we learned that it took less than a week for the young man to learn not to kick his dirty socks under the bed at night. He was now motivated by a loving relationship rather than adherence to rules. Again, I know a man who, when a lad of 16, his father asked to do a chore, perhaps mow the lawn, "Make me," responded the lad, albeit with a twinkle in his eye. Said the father, "I know you're a young man now and you're bigger than I am, but I also know that because of your love for me, you're going to want to please me." The boy did the chore, not because of instruction, but out of love for his father. The Galatians, to whom Paul writes, had begun their Christian life on the basis of a relationship with God, but had let someone convince them that Christian living involved obeying a list of rules. They had fallen out of step with the Holy Spirit. Jesus told his disciples that if they loved him, they would want to please him. The Christian life wasn't about rules, but about relationship. You may remember a dramatic moment during the women's 3,000-meter race at the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. The media billed it as a duel between American world champion Mary Decker and Zola Budd, who ran barefooted for Britain. Decker was ahead, but just over halfway through the race, Budd pulled ahead of Decker, who tripped over her leg, fell forward, and crashed onto the infield. In similar fashion, many Christians have fallen by trading their relationship with Christ for bondage to a legal code. They have fallen out of step with the Holy Spirit. So don't be like our George. Keep in step with the Spirit. And thank you for tuning in to Village Church Connections.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in tomorrow when we'll visit the Shell Point Salon to hear about a diet that can improve your skin complexion. And we'll get a look back at a life spent in academia with Oakmont resident John Moore. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for Tuesday, August 26th. I'm Rochelle Chernowski. For all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.